All right. Are we ready to go?
It's just a little slow.
Just a little bit.
Okay, it should be done. We should be live.
Okay.
Says streaming.
So, yep, says in the corner. Okay. Good evening. We've got 7 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Well, I'm just going to go around the screen as I see it, and I'll call your name and then just say present here. Tiffany Kinch.
Here.
Eric Price here. Stacy Bell.
Here.
Blair Anderson.
Here.
Stacy Giebler.
Here.
Scott Dial.
Here.
Matt Hirsch.
Present.
Eric Dieter.
Present.
Renee Hansen.
Present.
Lauren Tice Miller.
Here.
Karen Lynn. Rocky Busnitz.
Present.
Nicholas Carr.
Present.
Kristen O'Brien.
Here.
Rosa Cavazos.
Present.
Brian Masato.
Present.
Sarah Hoyer.
Yes, I'm here.
Kristen Bervert.
Here.
Laura Herla.
Here.
Jason Scholes.
Here.
All right. We need to approve the agenda. We need to make an amendment. We need to table the special education headcount to our next meeting. Can I get a motion to approve with the,
Erica,
yes.
I make a motion to approve the agenda with the deletion of Kristen O'Brien's presentation.
Okay, and that motion also is to approve the minutes from the February 1 and the 2 February 5th
Correct, and
meetings.
to approve all the minutes.
So motion by Renee, do I have a second?
Second, Jason.
All right, second by Jason. We'll do a roll call vote. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Dieter,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Yes,
Lauren Tice Miller,
Yes.
Erica Price, yes. Jason Scholes.
Yes.
All right, we have a 7-0. We will move on to communications. Barrington Elementary Site Council report.
Okay, I've got your video. Let me get that going. Do I have ability to share, Tiffany? Not yet.
Okay, try again.
And Mrs. Berber, you just want me to show the video, right?
Yeah, this video just takes us on, kind of leads us from where we were last February when we had our last site council to where we are right now. So we will answer questions and clarify anything after the video.
Hello, Barrington. Welcome to the end of this first year of your Quantum Learning Distinguished School journey. I wanted to reach out since I didn't get to come join you in May for our site visit, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for going for it, for diving into the process. Thank you for submitting all of the artifacts and the videos, even though they may have felt strange or weird. And thank you for taking all of the coaching and really looking at ways to level up your teaching there. And most importantly, thank you for sharing with me. Thank you for the Chicken Little challenges. Thank you for showing me all the flexible seating arrangements, the different classrooms you have, and being willing to be vulnerable. It's educators like you that really make my job a pleasure. And I realize that throughout this process, there is so much growth in you and so much growth in me. And that is what we do here at Quantum Learning. So I'm excited to announce something extremely special. So drum roll, please. Barrington is the first Stage 2 Quantum Learning Distinguished School in the entire United States. That's right, you have done it. We have made it through this stage, and next year we will be conquering Stage 3 together. So have some relaxation this summer. Think about all of the amazing things you've done, and let's make plans to do even more next year. And on that road, don't forget, we have a ton to celebrate. If it's worth learning, it's worth celebrating.
When have we been in the learning zone? At the beginning of the year, I was very uncomfortable trying to figure out how to juggle the schedules, et cetera, how to do all the different onlines, get everybody signed on, which I think as the weeks go by and working with my great team, I'm starting to feel comfortable and kind of like, okay, we can do this.
There was, you know, if you engaged your kids, you wouldn't let them wait time. Like, I mean, that was awesome.
The quantum goal setting process that we've gone through each month has been super meaningful and purposeful for me. I've been able to reflect with my teammates and grow as an educator. Each month we have just a couple very specific things that we work on, and just having those very specific goals for myself, I am able to make sure that I am improving on those things in my teaching each day. And then I've noticed that over the months, I am continually getting better at so many different things since I'm able to just work on very specific goals each month.
Barrier to success equals good purpose. This is it. Commitment, ownership, flexibility, balance. Carly, can you explain what speaking with good purpose means to you?
Speaking with good purpose means to me is using kind words. I would give Mrs. Bohr the "this is it" key because she's always doing what she needs to get done.
Hi, I'm Beth Baldwin, kindergarten teacher and one of the Quantum lead learners at Berryton this year. I think my most favorite parts of our Quantum Learning Distinguished Schools journey the past 2 years has been the sense of collaboration and community that we've developed through this process. Having shared goals lets us share ideas and learn from each other, which benefits everyone. It's helped us all be more reflective teachers, which makes us better teachers. Students see their teachers learning, which models the importance of being a lifelong learner and always growing. And most of all, it's helped us develop a sense of shared efficacy as a building, which strengthens us as a learning community and allows us to best serve our students. We truly are better together.
Thank you for the video. That was really great.
Ms. Berbert, Ms. Hurley, did you have anything extra to add there?
Mr. Hirsch, I want to just start real quickly by thanking our 6 quantum lead learners. That's Beth Baldwin, Joy Baker, Alyssa Metcalf, Melissa DePriest, Linda Dishman, and Melissa Boyer, just for agreeing to lead their colleagues and just spending lots of time making sure that they're at the top of their game so they can inspire and coach each other and their colleagues. And I wanted to see if Ms. Hurla, our site facilitator, would kind of just talk through the process we went through to starting this year off and just reestablishing home court advantage. Laura, can you talk about that for just a second?
Sure. Actually, we started that process wondering about August at the end of May. We knew that if we don't attend to our emotional state, it tends to run us and we'll tend to it somehow. But we wanted to be honest and open with each other as well as with our students. So we started what we're calling a quantum learning restorative circles. And in those restorative circles, that video you saw about the quarantine, that's actually the enroller we used at the beginning of the year for our circles. And the first circle we focused on was about safety, which is part of our home court advantage. The next time we focused on support, asking teachers what they needed as we tried something new that none of us were really trained on as teachers, but we're willing to try. And then we did another one that was on belonging and what traditions did we want to keep, what traditions would we include in our classrooms. And then we went, what you saw with the teachers talking about the learning zone and the comfort zone, we did that one in September and just talked about how, it's uncomfortable in our learning zone. But as we step out of our comfort zones into learning zones, our comfort zones grow. And then we were able to do a circle again with our site council in January, I believe. And then we've done it every time we've switched scenarios, just about we've had another circle with our building leadership team, not just our lead learners, but a representative from each grade level. So I think it's really helped us continue to attend to our own social and emotional well-being so that we could continue and work with our students in that process. And I think I know our teachers have been using it with their students as well. Are there any other questions we can answer about our process and what we've been up to?
I'd just like to say congratulations on achieving to be the first school in America that second level. That's so impressive, and the dedication that the staff has had to make us shine so brightly is very impressive. So thank you for all that you guys have done, and thank the rest of your team for that. That's just amazing.
Definitely will. I'd like to just point out real quickly, like this year has felt like a time of survival, but I really think that we are thriving instead of just surviving. That we've done walkthroughs on a QL. What would you call that, Kirsten? Like just
It's just a kind of a quick check for us to see
yeah.
which quantum components we're seeing in a classroom, not in any way administrative, just a kind of a checkpoint.
And it's a rubric though. And so we've seen a lot of our teachers go from training to mastery and then to leadership. Like having been a site facilitator for Shawnee Heights for several years, I just have seen such huge growth, and they are putting in extra hours to collect artifacts, to show their implementation and their learning. I mean, it's all extra learning on top of just everything with the pandemic. And so they've really pushed themselves, and it shows.
Thank you. Thanks for all your hard work. Hang in there. Okay. Any other board members have any questions or comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. We're going to move on to comments and concerns from patrons. We have Tiffany, one speaker tonight.
Yes.
One patron. Okay. All right. This is an opportunity for district patrons to address topics directly relevant to the business of the district or items on the current board agenda. All comments must be directed to the board president or presiding officer. Individuals will be given 3 minutes to present ideas, opinions, and or concerns.
I am admitting Mr. Watts right now.
All right, thank you. Oh. Welcome, Mr. Watts.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Staying warm, so that's good. Hopefully the Evergy doesn't shut my power down in the next 3 minutes.
We were a little concerned about that also.
Yep.
All right, you can go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Shawnee Heights community. Recently, the Kansas School Board endorsed returning all pre-K through 12 students back to in-class learning as long as precautionary measures are taken. We now have clear direction from our state school board on what our Shawnee Heights community goal should be. I'm eager to hear the superintendent and school board's plan to achieve this goal. 2 weeks ago, I brought up the idea of having school board members, teachers, staff, and parents meet on the Mondays that the school board is not meeting to discuss ways to get everyone back into class. There's not a solid plan on how to return all pre-K through 12 students back to full in-school learning. I would strongly encourage the board consider a way to collaborate with parents and teachers who are ready to return to in-class education. The 7-day average of cases has consistently fallen since November 18th, 2020. That is 11 weeks and 4 days of weekly average decline. Our school year is more than halfway over. The glass is no longer halfway full. At the end of last semester, our kids and staff worked extremely hard and went from 25% on the AWL list, which is failing 2 or more classes, all the way down to 16%. They reduced the amount of students failing by 36%, and that is admirable. However, a normal year is 10%, so our results of 16% last semester is an increase of 60%. Put in another way, our current method of instruction is resulting in an increase of 60% to our students who are failing 2 or more classes. In one cohort for middle school English, the grade breakdown as of last week was 11% A's, 17% B, 15% C, 13% D. 44% of the students in that cohort are currently failing English. We have the data, and schools remain low risk of spread. From the KDHE of the 1,802 clusters, only 61 have been from schools. We'd have months of our kids in the classrooms throughout the week. Even with having all these kids in our buildings, the data supports the fact that schools are not a main source of spread. We now need to return to 5 days a week learning. In closing, we must acknowledge that remote learning is a form of instruction. It's not true education. It is time to return our children to schools full-time and to take away the unnecessary burden of hybrid teaching off of our staff. Administer the vaccines to those who want them, and let's get back to learning in school instead of failing at home. Thank you, the Watts family.
Thank you, Mr. Watts.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on now to action items, business by consent. Need a motion to approve?
So move, Jason.
Eric,
Motion by
second.
Jason, second by Eric. We'll do a quick roll call vote. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price, yes. Jason Schulz.
Jason, yes.
For a 7-0 vote, we'll move on to approve the 2019-2020 financial audit report.
Yeah, Karen Lynn is here from Herbert and Trahan to give us that report. So Karen, all yours.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Good. Okay. I was having trouble with my audio earlier, so glad to be here and appreciate a few moments of your agenda this evening to present the results of the audit. Do you have, Sarah, do they have the documents that we had previously sent over?
No, since we switched from in-person.
Okay. Okay.
Document, the audit itself, the electronic version was shared within the board documents, but their physical copies they don't have.
Okay. Okay. So I didn't want to refer to them if you didn't have them in front of you. So I will just go through the conclusions from the audit process that are important for you as a board to hear from us as the auditors. Those items that are the conclusions from the audit process. And also really there's the required communications about the audit. So first, our responsibility after you hire us to perform the audit is to perform the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. Those standards require that we plan and perform the audit with the objective of forming an opinion as to whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. So that's the objective that we have in mind when we plan and perform the audit. We were able to form the opinion that, in our opinion, the financial statements are free of material misstatement, which is an unmodified opinion. And that is the highest form of opinion that can be given to a set of financial statements. So it is the opinion that you should be looking for in association with your financial statements. These financial statements are prepared in accordance with the regulatory basis of accounting, which is the basis of accounting that the state of Kansas prescribes for municipalities within the state if they choose to not prepare their financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And so that unmodified opinion is on the basis of the regulatory accounting basis that the state of Kansas does prescribe. We also perform the procedures in accordance with government auditing standards and the OMB's compliance supplement and the uniform guidance. Those standards are all as a result of the approximately $2 million of federal monies that were spent, received and spent by the district during the year ended June 30th, 2020. And so those standards require that we perform compliance and internal control test work on those federal dollars. Those testing that we performed resulted in no internal control findings and no compliance findings or issues. So again, what we would consider to be a clean opinion and clean results from the testing that we performed on those federal dollars. Other testing that we do in relation to the financial statement audit involves policies and procedures and accounting matters. We would review those to make sure that there's nothing unusual, that those accounting policies and procedures are consistently applied, and that there's nothing unusual or inconsistent in those policies that we would need to bring to your attention as a board. We also look for any significant or unusual transactions. If there's anything along those lines that we identify, we would again bring them to your attention as a board. There was nothing in either of those areas that we identified during the audit process that is out of the ordinary that we would want to make sure that you were aware of. Also, if there were any audit adjustments that came up during the audit process, we would make sure to bring them to your attention, and there were none that were identified during the audit process. We do have one reclassification entry that we make every year related to the summer held payroll checks, but that is a standard entry that's made because of the way that the state of Kansas has those summer held payroll checks recorded for budgetary purposes versus the way it's recorded for these financial statements. So not really considered to be an audit adjustment that needs to be in writing in terms of a true audit adjustment. Other things that we would bring to your attention, if we would have anything that would be considered a red flag or an issue of more serious matters, such as disagreements about any auditing matters or any accounting matters, things like items that we requested during the audit process that weren't provided to us, or just any disagreements about anything in relation to any matters during the audit process. Anything along those lines could be considered a red flag of more serious issues in the financial accounting process. And so we would be sure to bring those to your attention as a board, but we wouldn't wait until today here at the very end of the process. We would have brought them to your attention much earlier in the process. So you can rest assured that there were no issues like that, and that we had no issues or problems. We had full cooperation. We were able to get all the information we needed. Everyone was prepared for us. Sarah and her team did a great job of providing information to us. I think Sarah has indicated to you in past board meetings that the delay that we had this year was related to waiting for the federal government to issue the compliance requirements that were needed for us to finish the testing of the CARES Act funding that was received. We were promised that by the federal government in August, and then it was promised in September, and then we were promised it would be early November. Well, it was issued on December 22nd, right as we were all locking the door to go for our Christmas holiday. So once we finally got that and everyone was back from Christmas break, we were able to finally get through those procedures. And so here we are today issuing the final presentation. So, but I do want to express our appreciation to Sarah and her team for the great assistance and help that we received during the audit process, and able to get through all of the test work and get the report finished up. And it was a challenging year as COVID put its I don't know what even to call it, put its magic on the audit, just like it did everything else in 2020. But we do appreciate all the effort that Sarah and her team provided to get through the audit and to get everything finished. So the last item that I want to bring to your attention is a letter that, when you do have that audit and the report to the board in front of you, in that packet is a letter that's on the district's letterhead. That letter does have in writing many of the things that we talk about during the audit process, and that are items that are underlying the financial statement and the disclosures in the financial statements. This letter and the items in this letter are required by our audit standards to be in writing from the district to us, and this letter is the final step of the audit process. Once this letter is signed, that really is the indication that everyone is in agreement that the financial statements are ready to be finalized. All of the items in there really are good information for you as a board. As you read the financial statements, read through this letter, the items in here can help you really kind of put some of the pieces together about those disclosures in the financial statements to help just understand the financial statements that much more, to help you fulfill your fiduciary responsibility towards financial accounting matters by just giving you more information about all of the pieces of financial information regarding the financial statements. So we do encourage you to read through the letter and obtain that much more information about the different pieces of financial information regarding the district. So with that, I would open for any questions. As I said, good conclusions from the audit process, an unmodified opinion, no findings in regard to the federal program test work that we do, and there were no deficiencies that we had that were required to be put in writing. So any questions that I can answer?
Board members, do you have any questions? Thank you, Ms. Lynn. We really appreciate all your work. Thank you, Sarah, for your team's efforts, and central office as well. Did a good job. We like not having any demerits or notes in our letter. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Erica,
All right.
I would make the motion to approve this audit.
All right,
Second.
motion by Lauren, second by Renee. We'll do a roll call vote. Rocky Visnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Yes.
Renee,
Erica Price, yes. Jason Schulz.
Jason, aye.
All right, we have a 7-0. We will move on to approve USD 450 learning scenario movement.
All right, let me pull my screen up here. Here's the county scorecard for this last week. You can see we are again in the orange with a score of 14 for the county. It's nice to see a lot less red on there and even a little bit of green and yellow. So it's consistently been dropping. We were at 16 the week before, 14 this week. So a 2-week average of 15. The other thing that's really been nice to see is our cases dropping on the top line here. So we went from 451 to 364 on the week of January 31st to February 6th. If I go to the next week after that, I can pull that off of the county website, and the next week is 228. So looking good for next week also, that we'll have another significant drop. To get out of uncontrolled, you have to get down to 175. So we're moving down toward that magic number. So it's good to see that happening, and a lot of good stuff there is going down. We looked at this last week. I added in the new numbers. Wanted to reemphasize that again. The new week is down at the bottom. Again, we're still in hybrid learning, but you can see the numbers are looking really good. We were seeing, instead of having full boxes all the way across with larger numbers, we're seeing zeros in there. We're seeing ones, lots of small numbers, and that's what we're looking for to happen. Same thing, remember we talked about last time, looking the consistency on numbers, not having too many big blips in there. And SHES was our concern last time. You see we are down to no cases this last week for SHES. So that's great to see. They're on the mend there. And then we have places like Tecumseh North that haven't had any in several weeks. So looking good across the board with our cases. Again, we had this last time. This shows by student age since September 11th, how many cases we've had in that group. You remember for the pre-K through 2 group, I added in new numbers for the last couple weeks. So we're at 23 cases for that group. The 3rd through 6th grade has a total of 36 cases. You can see by building how those have divided out for each age level in that. Middle school is in the kind of pink color here. They've had 19. We had a couple students that were down in the 12-year-old age group, so 19 in all there. High school, 67, if you look at the across that one for number of cases. That's about 21 weeks worth of data that we're looking at here. So if you divided it out by week, you're seeing, in the 4 to 8 age group, pre-K through 2, that's about 1 a week. Not quite even 2 a week, less than 2 a week for 3 through 6. 1 a week for the 7, 8, and about 3. Yep, 3 a week for the high school. We did some surveying of our staff again, looking specifically at our grade 3 through 6. Last time we brought back our pre-K through 2 that would have started Monday. If we can get the weather under control, we'll get them back in the building for 4 days. But now moving on to that grade 3 through 6 group, ask those teachers at those grade levels their thoughts on bringing them back for 4 days. Had 31 of them across all 4 buildings saying yes, they're ready to bring them back. 10 were in that neutral range in the middle, and then 6 that were no. Of the couple comments we got from them, again, consistent with what they said last time. If we're going to change, just be consistent. Let's not move back and forth, much like we said last time. If we're at 4 days, we don't want to move back to hybrid or remote. They'd rather just close one building if they needed to for a few days to get them back in full swing. Had some concern about the vaccinations, getting them vaccinated. Let's wait for that. And then some just wanted to wait, make sure spring break wasn't an issue and start back in 4th quarter. But overall, even the negative comments are things that we can work with. And overall, very, very strong positive from the group about being ready to start looking at coming back. Wanted to make a comment about vaccines before I actually went to my recommendation, so you have a little bit of feel where we're at on vaccines. Today is February 15th. You can see on the calendar here. We had our first group get vaccines today. A group of bus drivers and substitutes. We actually started with them intentionally. We were pretty sure Friday that was going to be a day off today because the weather was looking really bad at that point. And so we just went ahead and made the decision to get them first. They're an important group because they help make everything else go the rest of the time. If we split up, only close a building or two as opposed to closing everybody down to do vaccines, it made it usable to have subs and bus drivers ready to go. So our first group went today. We were supposed to have a second group here on the 18th. That right now is on hold because Pfizer is our vaccine, and they told the hospital they're having trouble getting the shipments in with the severe weather. So that is right now, not sure if we're going to get our second group on the 18th, but we had 120 vaccines for the 18th, which would have been enough to do the entire high school. So we decided that would have been our second group. That way we'd only have to put them on remote for that day. It takes about 2 hours for a person to get vaccinated because we have to send them to the hospital, which takes about 30 minutes to get there, get in. It's about an hour at the hospital. They have to get registered, get their shots, do wait time, all that stuff. So they said it takes about an hour and then an hour to get back. So for a 2-hour turnaround for each person, it would have been near impossible, I'm pretty sure, to try to run a building when you're sending people back and forth and trying to still make things happen. So that's why we were looking at that remote learning on those days. Our last group was supposed to be Monday, the 22nd. We're going to do the rest of the 250. Again, we're still on hold on that one, waiting to see where we're going to be. But with that said, if we were able to, let's say we can get them done here in the next 2 weeks, which is the hope. It's 3 weeks between shots, about 21 days. That puts our first group right here in spring break. The second group would be real close for that second shot, either in spring break or that week right after. It's about a 10-day after you get your second shot till you're 100% ready to go. And I think it's a 95% confidence interval, if I remember right. So by the end of third quarter here, we should have pretty much people ready to go and fully vaccinated as our whole staff. So that kind of gives you a feel where we're at on our vaccination. As long as Pfizer gets the stuff coming, which we don't think it'll be a problem once the weather starts getting better again, they'll get those shots like they're supposed to, and we'll keep moving along there.
Man, I have one question for you.
Yep.
What percent of those that were eligible to get shots today actually got them?
Today or all together that we're planning?
Well, today's, because you don't know about what you're planning, but as far as,
well, we know we've got
I guess they've signed up.
I'll tell you
okay.
both things. Mr. Dial, how many do we have total sign up? Was it, do you have that number?
Yeah, we're around 450. And today we sent 42, and all 42, as far as I know, got their shot. So about 10% went today.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So,
Hey, Matt. Oh,
yep, go ahead.
do you have the quarantine data, much like you showed us with the chart for cases? Do you have it broken out for quarantines? So I'm also looking at the scorecard that you are showing us is dated February 8th and has 38 in quarantine, but I believe the data that we received on Friday for the 12th, the quarantines jumped up to 89. So do you have
The quarantine? Yeah, is all dependent upon the date I look at it. So we had a large group who was just finishing up the end of last week, that whole basketball group that was coming off of quarantine. So they're all off of quarantine now. So they all fell off my pile from what I showed you guys on Friday. So our quarantine right now, as of today, was 38 and 7. So what, 45 total quarantine. I don't have the numbers all the way across. I'd have to get that. Just the trend line. Yeah, I didn't actually run that one for this week.
Okay.
But we do know they're down quite a bit because even from Friday, we had that large group come off. And I think the last time we did quarantine for the scorecard was 90 to 100, if I remember right. And so the cases have been dropping substantially. Our numbers have dropped substantially.
Okay, thanks.
So then looking at the scorecard, 2-week average is 15. So it still puts us in that orange high category. We've been there for a second consecutive week with that. And looks like that'll again happen next week, looking at the numbers I was just showing you on the cases. Number and distribution of cases. Again, you can see from the down here, two good weeks. Numbers have been looking good. So we're in the yellow on that. Staff absenteeism has been very low. We can see from this current week, we have 3 cases and 7 quarantines as of today. So if we were looking at just today alone, it'd be 10 people. So looking good there on our staff, which moved them back to green. We're doing a great job with them right now. So resulting, what we're going to look at, what I'm going to suggest is right now we got pre-K through second already in 4-day learning. That would have started Monday. I'm going to recommend grades 3 through 6 go to 4-day on-site learning. If we looked at 2 weeks, let me bump back to my calendar here. Today is the 15th. If we did the normal 2 weeks, that puts us right here in parent-teacher conference week, which is actually just a 2-day week because we do a day off for conferences on Monday. And that 2 evenings puts the day off on Friday also. Talking to my administrators, they just felt like it'd be easier just to jump back and let's just start everybody on the 15th when we get back from spring break. So the recommendation is going to be to start 3rd through 6th right there, March 15th after spring break. 7 through 12, I'm recommending they stay in hybrid for now. We've got another action item after this, so we'll hold on the anticipated return date. But when we get to that point, I'll actually be suggesting, so with all the vaccinations done, by the time 4th quarter starts, that's when we kind of look at the possibility of returning middle school and high school for 4-day on site. But for this recommendation right now, I'm recommending we continue hybrid that group. So questions? Let's stop here.
Matt, why are you, just asking, why are you recommending that we stay in a 4-day learning versus coming back 5 days?
One thing we want to make sure we do a good job of is keeping up with everything. And what we don't know for sure is what happens when we bring our kids back, especially middle school and high school, to 4-day on site. When we get to that point and we're bringing them back, we will not be able to sustain the 6-foot social distancing in those buildings. And so we'll be closer to 3-foot social distancing in those buildings. That means if we do have a positive case in the building, it's much more likely we'll have a few more kids that are quarantined because of it. And so we want, because those teachers have to deal with kids that are home, kids that are at school, and it could be bigger numbers than maybe they're used to initially. We wanted to make sure that was a workable thing and we didn't overload them with that burden at the start. It also lets us keep up with that extra cleaning that we might need to do midweek to make sure we got some good cleaning in there too. So a couple of reasons we were doing that.
Thank you.
Matt, question for you is on the your recommendation that was originally based on the shots all being administered prior to spring break. With this delay, does that cause you to want to perhaps maybe move it back a week, or
for the 3rd through 6th?
Yes.
No, because in talking to the teachers, most of them were ready to go. There was a few of them that were concerned about that being an option, but once they get the first shot and they get 10 days in after that, they're actually, I believe that our new county health gal, what's her name? Erin, help me dial. Erin Locke, is it?
Yes.
She said that after the first shot and you get the days of after it, you're about 50% protected. And then after the second shot in 10 days, and that wins, it moves up to the 95. So even with that first shot, they'll be much better off. And the group was ready. The group was ready. And talking to my elementary principals, and Miss Berbert can vouch for this too. She's here. They were ready as a group and felt like that gave them what they needed. The scorecards dropping, which is what they were really wanting to do, have the cases be much lower, and they felt much better about it.
Erica, are you taking comments at all?
What do you mean?
Like what our thoughts are?
Am I writing them down?
No.
What do you mean?
Can I speak
of
freely?
Course. Yes. I'm sorry. No, yeah, this is discussion time, please.
Okay. I'm a little nervous about starting 3 through 6 until we kind of see what K through 2 happens. And you're talking about a month out. So personally, that was my thought when we made the vote the last time, that I kind of wanted to see what happened. And right now we're not seeing what happens. So someone's going to have to change my mind pretty hard on that to move that. And I just wanted to let, I think I've told a couple people, but I just wanted to let everyone else kind of know where I'm at on that.
One of the things, Renee, just so you know, I went back and looked at the scorecard back when we went to all the elementary and full-time before, and numbers were pretty similar to where we're at in the middle of that time frame. And so that's another reason I'm feeling comfortable with where we're at is the numbers have come down significantly since then. And we feel pretty good on the trend. Dr. Cooley was in our county health meeting the other day, and he's feeling really good about the numbers. He did not think there'd be any spikes because of the Super Bowl. He felt really good about the Super Bowl and how people handled that, and didn't feel like we'd have any bumps because of that. So they were feeling really good at the county about numbers staying down and coming down.
Mr. Hirsch, I know there's going to be a number of parents that are going to ask this question, so I'm going to ask. Sure. If teachers are feeling comfortable with coming back, and you're saying we should wait until after spring break, so March 15th, why, if you can just explain to everyone, why would you not want to say, let's come back on the 22nd?
Let me pull that screen back up.
Or is that, you mean February or March?
February or March. February 22nd.
The issue of come back 22nd is just the time to make it happen. We still have to make sure we get the busing all arranged. We have to make sure food service has time to get food ordered. 22nd is just real tight to get anything done for that matter. So we've always tried to make it a 2-week turnaround, which put us in the week of March 1st. And that's parent-teacher conference week. Just not the best time. It's a 2-day week for kids. They'd be on Tuesday and Thursday only. So they're only gaining 1 day if I brought them all back in that week. And so it was felt that just as a group, we all felt like the 15th was just an easier turnaround on that.
I see the vaccines being rolled out too.
The vaccine will be done. We've gotten a firm promise, hopefully, that everything's going to be done by at least spring break for the first shot. But we're expecting it to be even much quicker than that. We would expect to be done sometime in the middle of next week, we're hoping, with the first shot. And that gives many people the opportunity for that second shot, hopefully right in that spring break timeframe. So.
And it also might alleviate some of that pressure, Renee, to not come back on February 22nd, but push it, to that March 15th, or even if the vaccines don't come in, I mean, Mr. Hirsch, would it still be to your discretion to push that 1 week if we needed to? I mean, if we had needed to move it to March 22nd, if we made the motion to go in to bring 3rd through 6th.
We'll have another board meeting March 1 where you guys, if it's not looking like it's happening, we can always readjust then.
Okay. I think for me, I think as a district, we're ready to at least have a plan to move forward. And I think it's important that we have that established. I think everyone, parents and teachers, staff, know that, one of the 8 keys is flexibility. And if that's definitely one we've tested this year, but it would be nice to have a plan for the 4th quarter, at least a tentative one. And I think that if we have the support of our 3rd grade through 6th grade staff, I'd like to see us go ahead and move that direction to bring them back on the 15th.
Erica.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but I still have this thing of flipping all around, and what if we have to? And we could possibly make this vote on the 1st after we have seen some of the data of the pre-K through 2. So I'm probably still going to stay where I'm at on the vote. Just
That's fair.
I'm erring on the side of caution.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand that. I mean, none of us, we don't know for sure. I don't think any of us can say.
Absolutely.
for
None
sure.
of us actually know.
We do have
Yeah.
the data from the first time we were in, if you want me to
Yes.
pull that back up again. Let me pull that back up.
Matt, I'm sorry, but I'm not seeing any of your data on the screen. I'm having to look through the YouTube video.
I sent it on text to you. I don't know if it came through, Renee, the two charts.
Okay, I'll look.
Okay.
So you can't see this?
No, it just says Matt Hirsch has started screen sharing.
Are the rest of you seeing it okay?
Yeah, I'll see, but I'll take this quick screenshot and send it to her.
This is the one I was looking at. The 4-day on-site's the green stuff. So we can see from looking at when we were 4-day on site, what cases looked like going down, and they weren't much different than what we were seeing at other times, other than there weren't as many zeros across the board as we got to that last week when we actually changed to remote afterwards. But before that, we were numbers were looking good across the board, pretty much, and. But the entire state obviously saw a huge increase in cases at that time. So feel like we were still pretty strong across the board.
Okay, any other board members need any other information? This is an action item, so we need a motion.
Just one question.
Sure.
Matt, would you see an issue with bringing the 3rd through 6th back to school at the start of 4th quarter?
I mean, it's not an issue. It's whatever you guys decide you want to do. I felt like with the survey from the teachers that they were ready to start getting them back. And that was a group that we have brought back before. We felt like elementary was a safer group to start with. And so we decided to work up the ladder a little bit as we did the last meeting and start with pre-K 2 and then go 3-6. And so I think we're ready. I think after spring break, that's going to be a month from now. That's quite a bit of time from now. So I don't see any reason to have to wait another couple weeks to get that group back in, but definitely could be an option.
Alrighty. Thank you much.
Mm-hmm.
Erica, I'd like to make a motion to approve Matt's recommendation.
Okay, I have a motion by Rocky, second by Jason. Discussion? Lauren, I saw you unmute.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and all the things that I've been reading over the past week or so, and I even watched an interview with the director of the CDC over the weekend. And the most common thing that kept coming up is while they were talking about, opening schools safely and bringing kids back safely, they kept emphasizing the word safely and talked about the need for the 6 feet distance. And none of that really changed. Even in discussion about when teachers and staff are vaccinated, there's still a need for the 6 feet distancing. And a lot of that came from not the numbers within the district, but the numbers in the community. And, one thing that, should be noted is when the board initially voted to bring the kids back 4 days a week, we were in single digit numbers as far as the department for the county. And we were not in uncontrolled levels of cases. And so when I look at the Shawnee County scorecard, and I still see that in the community around us, we're still in the red. We've spent, 14 weeks in uncontrolled scores on the scorecard, and we still have an uncontrolled number of cases. And based on that information, based on what the CDC is recommending, we shouldn't be bringing more students into the building because we can't keep that 6 feet of distance. So I I still stand with the CDC recommendations, and there's even on the county website I was reading, it lists, to keep the 6 feet of distance, to keep your quarantine numbers down, because as we've seen, quarantines can really be disruptive to the school environment. So I will not be supporting bringing more students in at this time.
To add to that a little bit, one of the studies we've been reading, I think I sent you guys the one. I think it was either Minnesota or Michigan. I can't remember one of those, but those groups of schools were using the cohort idea where they could cohort classes of 20 or less, and they were finding success with that. So that's what we are proposing at our elementary level is the whole idea of the cohort groups with the classrooms. So.
Okay. I think we'll move on to roll call. Oh, Eric, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just going to comment on the fact that I read some of the things that Lauren was talking about and also what Matt's talking about, the cohorting. But when I look at what the teachers are asking us to do, when it's 23 or 31 are saying yes and 10 are neutral and 6 are no, I've always been wanting to do what they want us to do and supporting them with their desires. So, because we'll never be able to social distance when we bring all the kids back. It just can't happen. But I think if we do the cohorting, following the guidelines that are associated with that are set out by the county and also through CDC, I ideally would like us to have all of our teachers having the second dose of the vaccine. So I'm disappointed that they're not getting it out as quickly as they had hoped, but I understand that we're dealing with this weather conditions. So, but I will support Matt's recommendation.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move to a roll call vote. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, no.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, no.
Erica Price is a yes. Jason Scholes.
Jason, aye.
All right, we have a 5-2. Motion passes. We will move on to approve middle school and high school return date to 4-day on-site learning.
I wanted to go ahead and pull this out separate so it didn't get mixed up in the 3-6 concept, because this is a discussion to see if we're ready to have that group come back. The idea here is to, like I said, that vaccines will be done. Teachers will and all school employees will have even their 10 extra days, hopefully, to be fully vaccinated by the time this happens, which would be the start of fourth quarter, which is March 29th. That at that time we would go ahead and look at bringing the middle school kids and the high school kids back. Teachers, and employees, we were really concerned about them and how this affects them. We know that high school, middle school kids have a more likelihood to catch it and to pass it. And so we have to be cognizant of that. We would be looking with those groups of the idea of the 3-foot social distancing as much as we can. But knowing that that's going to be even a challenge with that situation. But if we're going to bring them back, it's a good time to start looking at it. Our staff will be ready to go at that time. The ones that are concerned were able to get vaccinated, and I think it's a good time to shoot for getting kids back. So that's going to be my recommendation, is to return them starting fourth quarter.
And then once again, if this motion passes, we have the ability to shift that date if need be. Under you would have that discretion should we need to push it a week if necessary.
We will have, I believe, 2 meetings before that, prior to that. And so we should know really well by then if vaccines are going to make it or not.
Okay.
And readjust if needed.
And would you be using the cohort model for this, or would this just be open the doors and let all middle school and high school students back in business as usual for?
It wouldn't quite be business as usual, but the idea was hopefully to work more with the idea of a 3-foot social distance as much as possible in classrooms. We'll have to see how we're going to have to spend some time looking at lunchrooms, see what options we have there. The middle school has talked about, we can work with the 3-foot idea in there. And then how do we group kids? So either they're with consistent groups during lunches when they're not having masks on, and how does that look at the high school? So they are now looking at options to deal with lunch as our biggest area of concern because masks are off. But the rest of the time we'd be looking at trying to deal with the 3-foot social distancing.
So
We
how
ran
does
that by, one second. We ran that by Dr. Cooley and the health department. And they understood that there's going to have to be some slight changes in order to get kids back in. And they weren't saying that that was the best solution, but they're saying it is a solution if that's what we could do.
How does that work with busing?
That's a decision we're going to have to make as a group. Do we want to reduce restrictions on busing right now or not? When we went to the elementary being in full time, we asked parents to transport them so that we could still stay within the rules. The question is, do we need to do that still or not? And so I guess my opinion is I would probably reduce some restrictions on the busing also, with the idea that we would assign seats so we always have the same kids sitting next to each other at all times. And that would help us get more kids on without having to infect different groups at each time. So they would be consistent groups they'd be with.
Matt, when you're in your conversations with the health department, have they had any, I guess, discussion around a 3 feet quarantine rule? Where I think when Dr. Pizzino was here right before he left, he was talking about if 2 people or 2 kids were masked, fully masked most of the time, or all of the time or most of the time, then they would consider that in deciding quarantines, potentially looking at that. Has that conversation come up, or are they there yet, or is it still the 6 foot?
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Dow helped me on that, but I believe for pre-K through 8th grade, they don't have to quarantine. Is that correct?
That is correct. So pre-K through 8th grade, if they're in a classroom wearing a mask, regardless of how far apart they are, they do not have to quarantine. But that only goes up through 8th grade. That also goes from adult to student. So that kindergarten teacher who's wearing a mask with a kindergarten student, they wouldn't need to quarantine. Now, if it's adult to adult, say kindergarten teacher to kindergarten para, even wearing a mask, they would have to quarantine, but not student to student or student to adult.
Thank you.
And with this motion, we're setting a target. This is not concrete, set in stone. We can move it, and we can move it if we have to. But we are looking to set a target, a goal, a hope at this point.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm kind of going with it, just because we're still, I mean, as much as we'd like to say vaccines are going to happen and it's going to be perfect and we'll all be good, we just don't know. There's so many variables with them. But the hope is, yes, everything will go smoothly. Cases in the county will continue where they are and not see a spike upward again, and vaccinations will take place. So, yeah.
I think this has been the hardest part about the whole situation. Has been we've been hoping. Now is the time to come through and say, let's put a number on it and work towards hitting that number, with the full understanding that it's a month and a half out, things can change. And we need to be, if everything works out, we see our kids back in school for the start of 4th quarter. If not, we haven't lost a whole hell of a lot.
I'm willing to support Matt's recommendation, but I do have the concerns of the, because we can't cohort with our secondary at all, just in a way that they interchange with the different classes and so on and so forth. But then also the, the fact that we've been able to, when we've had the cases within the secondary level, to isolate the kids more so because of much fewer numbers. And as soon as we start bringing it back, those quarantine numbers are going to jump up tremendously. And I think people need to be very much aware of that. And then that could have an impact on not only the educational component of what we're dealing with, but then also the extracurricular activities that are going on with it as well. And I'm not talking about just the sports and some of the other extracurricular activities, such as the debate and such, but also we're heading quickly to prom season. We're heading quickly to graduation, and I don't want us to have to go backwards again as we did last year and miss out on the opportunity for our students to enjoy those extracurricular activities that they have been able to, except for most recently the basketball, the men's basketball being quarantined and missing out on some of those activities. But for the most part, we've been able to continue to enjoy those activities because of the fact that the numbers have been so reduced and limited. I do have the concerns that once we bring them back, just the 4 days that, the 3 feet, whatever it may be, that is at that level, it's going to be much higher quarantine numbers and impacting the potential for missing out on those extracurricular activities. So, but again, Matt, I'm willing to follow your recommendation here. And as Jason has pointed out, this is just, it's a date to look at potentially bringing them back. And as we get closer to that date, see where we're at on the number wise on all score sheets and make a decision at a closer time frame to that.
Yeah, on that sports thing, before Renee gets here, is who'd have thought wrestling would make it through a season with the close contact and all that, and they look like they're going to make it through it and be able to get to the end here. So we've shown, even with sometimes some very concerning events, that they are able to keep going if we do some mitigation strategies, and we'll keep doing those.
Well, I think with the sports, the coaches have done an outstanding job in making sure that the students are complying with the requirements that are set forth by everyone, and our administrators are staying on top of it as well. So do appreciate that. And that's why I think it's been successful, because I agree. I didn't think wrestling would make it 2 weeks, but they've done it.
Yep.
So my question is, have we surveyed the middle school and high school teachers?
I've not done an official survey of them, no.
Okay.
Kind of the thought was everybody's been looking forward to that vaccination being the key thing of their own safety and security. And so
I know it is for me.
Can a survey be done for them, Matt, as we get?
We sure can, yeah.
If you would, I think that would be beneficial.
So Matt, my question is, at the high school level, how do we make sure the students are, washing their hands or sanitizing and all of that every hour, like it's recommended? They're not going to be able to keep any kind of distancing, really. And 3 feet doesn't really do much good from everything I've read. So what are we doing to make sure that they're washing their hands and sanitizing and all of that?
We'll still be doing all those same protocols we've had all year long. So everything they've been doing up till now, they'll continue. I can't say per se what they're doing after each class, but they all have hand sanitizers in the rooms, and I believe they were asking kids to use those on a regular basis when they came and when they left, unless anybody else has more specific. But I've seen it. I've seen it at the middle school.
Wipe down shared workspaces.
Say it again.
Will they be required to wipe down shared workspaces, like their desks and stuff, before they transition?
And that's been happening all the time. So a lot of times at the end of the hour, the class will clean their own desks and then get ready for the transition. So I'm under the assumption all those are still going. I don't have any reason to believe they're not. I haven't asked them particularly in the last month or so, but They should all
Yeah.
still be occurring.
Okay. Yeah, my concern is, I mean, I understand our teachers and staff will be vaccinated, or at least a good percentage of them will be by that time. But my concern is with the students. I mean, by that, in the high school level, they're just as, they transmit the virus just as much as adults do, but they're not going to be eligible for vaccines for quite some time. So again, with the community spread, with the way it is, and with tracing being difficult to track on where exactly these cases have been transmitted, and then also with the quarantine issue, it's very unsettling to think that we're going to open our secondary schools back up here in about 6 weeks, especially, given that we've got spring break in the middle of it. And I don't know that people will commit to continuing the mitigation strategies on spring break, and we won't be looking at another spike in cases.
I can show you where we're at on cases for age groups, at least across the county. Are you guys seeing this graph okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this is since March. And so here's the 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, and then here's our kind of high school group with 19-year-olds in it. So you can kind of see where they fall in the whole scheme of things across. Still that 25 to 44 age group that's really the big groups that are hitting it. We're still lower with our other groups. So if you looked in the last 2 weeks, across the board, we're looking at very low numbers. Even 19 is a low number across the board for 14 days worth of cases. So
do we plan to implement any kind of testing strategy to make sure that we regularly test either students or staff? Because I know that was one thing that the CDC was recommending, that if we are going to bring more students into our building, that we have a robust testing strategy.
That's an option we can look at. We are considering more looking at it for specialty type situations. I know when he was talking to Mr. West, talking about prom, looking at that as an opportunity to do something like that, getting ready for prom. We can look at different events like that. They were looking at having you look at situations that would happen in your building where you might want to kind of preemptive test people to make sure things are good. You could do a full scale, but we were not necessarily leaning that direction. But we could look at it if that's what we want to do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, with that large of a population coming back, I'm concerned about asymptomatic, and even with the numbers you just showed us, we don't know how many of those cases were then transmitted to an older population, which were then transmitted to other populations. So just concerned about the transmission of it.
Sure.
Mr. Hirsch, for parents that are, uneasy about sending their students back the full 4 days a week, is the remote still going to be an option for those students?
Yeah, we think it'd be a good time starting fourth quarter there. If certain people wanted to go to full remote, that's a good time to switch. We could work with that, middle school and high school, or even at the elementary level. We also anticipate there'll be some going the other direction too, that some people chose remote because they didn't want to do the hybrid options. And so we might see some come back the other direction too, which is what happened with the elementary. If you remember the first time we did this, we had some go both directions. So we would allow that to happen.
And will you put out another survey asking about the students that are planning to come back, if they will need transportation again? Because I remember you did that last semester. You had put out a survey asking about if they are planning to come back, would they need transportation, or would they be able to provide their own transportation? That also might help with the school bus seatings, if you knew that information as well.
We definitely can. some of that will hinge on our, as a group, the decision on what you want to do with busing, if you want to try to maintain current protocols on there, or if we wanted to reduce that a little bit. And then once I knew that, then we could get that information out and ask what they wanted to do as a group. Yeah.
I'd say at this point, I would not support making any changes to our current busing requirements. I think that if we do the same as what we did with the elementary schools, that if the parents are wanting to have their kids increase the numbers, that they need to make a commitment to helping transport their students.
We can definitely put a survey out and go that direction with it.
Does anyone else need any more information?
No, I will say in some of the, a number of the emails that we did receive from teachers and staff, a lot of them felt comfortable with our students returning fourth quarter because of that, having received or being able to receive that second vaccine. And so that makes me feel more comfortable with this decision, hearing from a number of those teachers saying that that was what they would hope would happen at the high school level. So I appreciate that and appreciate your work on this, but I still would like to see a survey like you did with the 3rd through 6th graders and pre-K to 2nd as well.
Mm-hmm. We could do that.
All right, this is an action item, so we do need a motion.
Erica?
Yes, sir.
I move that we accept Matt's recommendation to open the secondary level schools up for 4 days a week learning starting March 29th.
I second.
Okay, motion by Jason, second by Rosa. We'll do a roll call vote. Rocky Busnitz.
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos.
Rosa, yes.
Eric Dieter.
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen.
Renee, no.
Lauren Tice Miller.
Lauren, no.
Erica Price is a yes. Jason Scholes.
Jason, aye.
All right, we have a 5-2, motion passes. We will move to, it passes 5-2. We'll move to approve Skyward agreement renewal.
Skyward is, we need to redo our contract with them. The contract that you have in front of you is a 3-year extension. If we do a 3-year, we can lock in rates for those 3 years. And so I'm recommending approval of that new contract.
What software do you get from them, Mr. Hirsch?
Oh, this is our business software. Sarah Hoyer and our business team use this for payroll. We use it for accounting. We use it for our purchase orders and all that stuff. So it's our business software. And
so the cost that's on here, is it like
per student?
It's per student.
It's a per student cost. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So it's like there was not a full cost and I didn't quite fully understand it, but now I do.
Based, we have to give them our counts and they will base it off our, I believe, our September 20 count, right, Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
So it's kind of important that we have this stuff, right?
Very.
We made a commitment a few years ago, and it's tough to back down from now. We're there. So.
And they went through a lot of painful work to get that up and working correctly. So
yes,
I wouldn't want to put them through that again.
It's still a process we're working on. It's been a long haul, and but we're getting there.
Why don't we want to put them through something like that? We're a bunch of sadists.
Because they already did it once, most recently. I move approval.
I had a question real quick.
Go ahead, Lauren.
And this is just for the accounting side of things. We then still have Power School for the grading elements and the special ed elements, and then we have another system that manages our school lunch program balances, and then we have RevTrack, right, which then runs the credit cards. Is that so? We have all of those systems, right?
Yes.
Okay. But Skyward has the ability to combine all of those, right? Except for maybe the special ed element. Is that right?
It has functionality to do some of those programs to an extent, but it doesn't always work the way that we need it to work. So we have I think we've looked at all of those other components and decided that we like what we have.
Right now, we have a power school specialist in Carla Murray, and to flip on her to Skyward wasn't what we really wanted to do, because she's really good at power school. So we stayed with the student side of it being power school. Yeah.
Okay, I move approval.
Jason,
Eric, second.
Motion by Renee, second by Jason. We'll do a roll call vote. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Teacher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price is a yes. Jason Schultz.
Jason, I.
All right, for a 7-0, motion passes. We'll move on to approve summer driver's education program.
So an attempt to continue with moving back toward normalcy, we'd like to do driver's ed again this summer. We did get this happen. It happened last summer. We were able to finish it and get it through, and the group's going to do that again. I believe we have 4 instructors that help with that, and they'll do classroom and drive time stuff, and we'll follow all the state rules and regs on that to make sure we do it safely. So estimated cost was about $3,723. We do have still a sizable budget in driver's ed, so we'll be okay covering those costs with current driver's ed budget money. So I recommend approval.
I'd like to commend the job that they did last year. My son went through their program, and even with COVID protocol, they just did a super job. They really did. So hopefully it can be a little bit more normal this year, but if not, they can make it happen very effectively. So again, they appreciate all that they did.
David Winnell does a nice job kind of organizing it all and making sure it all heads, and those instructors do a great job from there. So
I move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Eric, second by Lauren. We'll do a roll call. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Teacher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price is a yes. Jason Schultz.
Jason, I.
All right, that's 7-0. Motion passes. We'll move on to pay or approve pay application number 10 to Schneider Electric.
So this one is the final payment minus the retainage money. It holds the retainage money. It's their final payment to them for the work on the energy saving project, the lighting and the project over at Tecumseh North on the roofing and the heating and air stuff. So we recommend approval here.
Alexa, bathroom lights 100%.
Everybody's happy with the work?
Yes, I believe we're good. HTK has approved it. Nathan and Joe have signed off on it.
I'll move approval.
Okay, motion by
Eric,
Lauren.
second.
Second by Eric. We'll do a roll call. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Teacher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price is a yes. Jason Schultz.
You're on mute.
Jason, I.
All right, we've got 7-0. Motion passes. We'll move on to approve pay application number 11 to Schneider Electric.
So this pay application pays them the retainage money, the $434,153.41 was the money we held for retainage to make sure everything was right and done. And HTK has said they are good to go, and Joe and Nathan say the same. And this ends the project and puts an end to it. And so I'll recommend approval on it.
All right.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Lauren, second by Renee. We'll go down the list again. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosie, yes.
Renee Hansen. Oops, sorry, Eric.
Renee, yes.
Yes.
Eric Deecher.
Eric, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller.
Yes.
Erica Price is a yes. Jason Schultz.
Jason,
All right, we've got 7-0. Motion passes. Next on the list is approve high school JAG K contract for the 2021-2022 school year.
Every year we come to you to approve the next year's JAG contract. This provides us 2 JAG instructors. So for $22,000, we get 2 instructors in a program, and it's a great deal as far as I'm concerned. Our students are doing really well. We've had, I believe, 100% graduation rate amongst this group. Mr. West, I've asked him in the next meeting or so when he gets a chance to give us an update on their numbers, but good success with it. It's been a very good program for us. So I recommend approval.
All right.
I move for approval.
I second.
Motion by Eric, second by Rosa. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price is a yes. Jason Schultz. All right, that's 7-0. Motion passes. Move on to approve orchestra trip to Orlando, March 2022.
I want to thank Mr. Masoto and Mr. Carr for waiting the entire meeting. They probably didn't know I put them last, but save the best for last. The orchestra is wanting to tag team with the band and join in on their trip to Orlando. And these 2 can give you any information you need extra to approve that.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, this is the exact same trip that was already voted on. We just figured since the orchestra trip to New York was canceled and I'm already going with the band anyway, we might as well open it up to both groups since we hope to have a high enough number of students to keep it a viable trip and keep the price down.
I move approval.
All right. Motion
Second.
by Renee, second by Eric. We'll go down the list again. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos.
I had a question.
Oh my gosh, I always skip that discussion.
That's okay. Is this going to be like the band where their dollars rolled over from the New York trip? Is that how that's going to work as well?
So whatever money was still in the accounts, they will have. We gave full refunds from the New York trip that was canceled. And just like the band, most likely this initial deposit of $100 will be non-refundable. But if they've fundraised money that has not gone to the company, that'll stay in their account for future trips. Pretty standard practice for any trip that we take.
Okay. Perfect. I vote yes. Sorry.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee Hansen, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Yes.
Erica Price is a yes. Jason Schultz.
Jason, aye.
All right, we've got 7-0. Motion passes. Enjoy your trip, orchestra. Fingers crossed. Hope it all works out.
Thank you very
I
much.
want Ryan to know this is kind of like cheating on your first trip. You ought to have full experience of planning it. But
well, and yeah, we kind of, that was like one of the thoughts that I went through my head. I was like, wow, this sounds really awesome. It's a training wheel trip.
I think it's a smart move on your part.
I'm glad.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for waiting.
Sure.
All right, we'll move on to discussion items. Superintendent's report.
It's been a crazy day. I want you guys to know that school closings and all kinds of stuff. And but we are looking at, we did close school for tomorrow. Weather looked pretty crummy in the morning, 15 below or so. Luckily, we're hoping the wind chill isn't much worse than that because it could have been crazy if we had a little stronger winds. We'll see what happens, but temperatures are enough and the snow right now is not helping out any. So I think that's probably a good move on our part. We decided to go ahead and stay the rest of the week as is, mainly just to try to have some consistency. We're getting to where we were changing lots of things. We're having some groups closing due to vaccinations and different things. So we decided just to keep things standard and stay where we were. So it's kind of the main reason on that, that we didn't change anything the rest of the week. We've talked about vaccinations already. We'll keep you updated as we keep learning more over the next couple days. Hopefully Pfizer is able to start shipping here in the next couple days, and things will continue back where they were, but we just have to wait and see. It's really difficult making plans on schooling when you don't know when your people are going to head in for shots. And so we're just going to try to keep everybody up to date as much as we can. Tiffany's put out a couple of messages to the public to just say we're working on this and stay with us on it. I think I sent out to you guys, the mass gathering rule has changed. So the county is relaxing some of the rules, which is good for all of us to see. That means they feel comfortable with how things are going. So the mass gathering rule is now 300 people at a gathering. And if you want to have a group larger than that, you can put in a plan and to see if you can get it recommended. But we will be sticking with that 300 for now. Cody Whitney has set up a schedule for the rest of the high school season here in the winter season. I believe the main thing he did was bring back some extra groups, like I believe Pep Band will now be part of it and their parents can come to the games. Dance team, I believe, was added on if they weren't on there already, some groups like that. So we just added a few extra groups instead of increasing the numbers that each kid could have. We just added some different groups in that weren't able to participate before. So if you haven't been to the gym with 100 group, there's a lot of room still left. And so I think we can easily do this. We aren't even pulling out one set of the bleachers at all. And so we have a lot of room still left in there. I think we can take care of this and be fine. The state has put out a new guidance for school districts called Navigating Next. It's a set of guidance for from now until the end of the school year, what districts need to do to kind of prep for the end of the year, make sure everything's where they need to be and start getting ready for the next school year. So we'll be looking at that document. It just came out, and the commissioner will be having a series of meetings with different people and different groups to talk about that, and we'll start working through that information so that we make sure we're prepared going into the end of the year and to the next. And the last thing I had is we're getting closer toward negotiation season. So my negotiators, you know who you are, I think it's Renee, Eric, and Rosa, right? There is a training. Have you seen those on the emails coming through? So if you have not, remind me and I'll send you the reminder. But they are going to do that training by video this year. And so all you have to do is go on, watch the training video and do that. So I saw enough questioning looks. I will send that out to you. And you just have to go to the KASB site and get on there. So if you have trouble finding it, let me know, but I'll give you directions on what they gave me at least. That's all I've got.
I'm sending you a reminder.
Perfect.
Matt, I had a question for you about the decision to do the remote learning day tomorrow. It was my understanding that we had some flexibility, or were given a little bit of flexibility from the State Board of Education as far as hours go. If we turned the day into a PD day or something like that, would it not be possible to give the students a snow day and ask teachers to report for a PD day?
They gave us the flexibility if we had a PD day or a collaboration day with our staff, that we could use that in lieu of a day of school. We did not make that decision this time, basically because we're set up and ready to go for remote learning. We told our staff and our families way back that any days we would plan on being remote learning days. We didn't want to lose any more days of instruction than we needed to. And so talked to the administrators today, and that's what we all decided was good to stay where we were and keep doing the remote learning days. So that's why we made that decision. But we could make that other decision. Yes.
Were there not concerns about there possibly being more rolling blackouts tomorrow?
Yeah, we were looking at that. The problem is if you have teachers at school, you're still got to worry about the rolling blackouts. So either direction, we had concerns that. We did talk to our Evergy rep. Joe Hobbs gave them a call and talked to them. And when he talked to them about noontime, they thought we were okay in our area right now. We'll just see what happens. But he said it's ever changing. But at that point, that was before the big announcement came out from the state, from Evergy. But so that's where we were.
Okay.
All right, I'll just go down the list, and then if a board member has something to say, great. If not, you can pass. But we'll start with Rocky. Do you have any comments tonight? Rosa?
I just want to remind everyone, of the board members, that to check out the KASB lunch and learns and things. I've been on those the past few weeks, and I'm always looking to see what my fellow board members, if they're able to make it or not. So if you can, it would be great, because they have some really good discussions going on, and there's different classes, and it's all virtual. And so just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you for the reminder. I was doing those prior to me having a regular 8 to 5, so I'll try to do those. Eric?
Real quick, just wanted to thank the rest of the board for agreeing to go in on providing the treats to the staff like we did. It was well received, and just appreciate everyone's willingness to participate in that. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for organizing that. That was really helpful.
Thanks for sending out the reminder. I think I owe 2 board members money now. I think I owe Eric and Lauren money. Lauren, when she bought flowers for the administrative staff for ourselves. So.
I only charge a small interest rate.
Yeah, I charge a large interest rate. So
nice.
So if you guys, along that line, I know everyone had planned to just pay me tonight, but just leave it. I know that we have to go into the central office and sign quite a few things. So if you think of it, that'd be great.
The sharks be circling.
Rosa has her finger up.
I just want to say that I went in to sign all the papers the other day, and I would have been the first one there. So just Dr. O'Brien can vouch for me that I was super happy that I was not the last person, but I was the first person. So I'll make it in this week again. But I just, she's got my back. So we're good.
Just another example of how crazy COVID times really are.
All right, Renee.
Just a big thank you again to teachers and staff and everyone that helps make this education thing that we do happen. It's just, you amaze me every single time. So thank you.
Lauren?
I was just going to say I really enjoyed the video this evening. It was a really nice reminder of what all we've been through and how far we've come. And just again, as Renee has said, the innovation and the commitment to all of this has just been, there's not a word to describe it. I mean, it's just been astounding, the things that everybody has managed to accomplish in all of this. And I would agree with what Laura Hurla said. I think that our kids are doing more than surviving right now. I think many of them are thriving more than we realize. So kudos to everybody involved.
Yep. I said last time I would do a better job of breaking down the emails sent by patrons and staff. And I think maybe we received 10 and a lot of them were from, is that about right? I said I was going to keep track and then I didn't, because I'm used to getting
it wasn't nearly as many.
I'm used to getting like 40 or 50 emails, and then I think I was just anticipating, and then we had the 10, which I don't think I got ever responded to, so I apologize for that, but all of them were read, so I just wanted to mention that. And I think Rosa, you talked about the ones we received from staff, 2 from staff.
No, I think I had 23.
Oh, you had 23?
Yeah. So I was guessing everybody had about that many. So that's how many
I don't think I had that many, but anyway, I thank you for everyone who always writes in. I always do greatly appreciate it. And then I had down I was going to ask Mr. Hirsch about Wednesdays, but you covered that. And then we had a question from a parent about how and why we chose the vaccination schedules that we chose, and you touched on that. And then Mr. Watts mentioned the parent collaboration with the board and teacher staff. And honestly, I think it's a good idea. I think we're all just a little stretched at the moment, and I'm not sure we can make that happen quite yet, but it might be something we could look into maybe, as we work into the summertime and talking about next year. So I don't want to just completely not talk about that, because I think it's worth talking about. And it's maybe when we do the, Mr. Hirsch, what was the next document called? I'm sorry.
Okay, navigating
next, might be a good opportunity to work on some collaboration with the community in that department.
Erica, is that something that could be added to the DAC agenda? Like every month, the District Advisory Council discusses those items. I mean, they already meet the Monday in between our two.
That's true.
Two board meetings, and we have a school board member on the District Advisory Council, and we have members of administration there as well.
Good idea. Let me write that down.
Well, I also think it's important to note that we did have a large group of staff and parents that met over the summer and right before school started to kind of look at those things. And so I know that that's on our website because I have looked at that quite often. So I just think we just need to, it may not be now and current, but that was what that group was designed to do. And I think we forget that there were almost 100 people, I think, that were part of that group. And so a lot of them did work really hard to make those, to make every scenario to be thought through for buses and school and teachers. And so I feel like we should acknowledge that piece as well, and that is on our website. So just to add to that, as Lauren said, the DAC meeting would be great, but just to make sure that we, acknowledge that at least those 100 people got together to make that happen. So.
Right. Yep. And then also, Mr. Watts was talking about some data out of the middle school, and I'd like to have Mr. Urich go over that data maybe at the next meeting when he's here.
We're going to probably have to shift that if we do. The next meeting is actually parent-teacher conference day.
Oh, okay.
It's not a good day for all the administrators to get out of and come to the meeting. So we can either move them to the mid-month meeting instead of the first of the month, if you want to do that.
Either one, whatever works out. I don't want to overload anybody. So
it's either that or wait till the next month. So it's whichever you prefer, or I can present it myself, either way.
I'll let you, whatever. I have as long as we get the data, I don't care who delivers it, I guess. I mean, because they're going to have their hands full with parent-teacher conferences.
I can look at getting it for the next meeting. So
that'd be great.
Okay. Was that the data like what Mr. West presented to us a couple meetings, or I guess it was at our last meeting, I think, where he was talking about how the grades have improved?
Yes, I know Mr. Watts referenced that, and then you referenced some data from the English class and from the middle school, and I'm not aware of that data. So I was wondering if we could have an update on that.
I think he was referencing the personal cohort of people that I think there's a group of students that he's involved with, and he was referencing them.
Because I guess
what I interpreted
more, because I wasn't sure, we weren't given those numbers. So not that I would never doubt their accuracy, but I'd like to have that verified by our middle school administration.
I'll contact Mr. Watts, or if he's listening right now, have him send me that data so I know what I'm
that would be great.
to find. But otherwise, I'll contact him and try to find out what he had.
Okay. it always scares me a little when data is given to me when we weren't presented with it. So anyway, but that's all I have. Thank you to Barrington, and thank you everybody for, especially everybody who worked on the budget. I know that's just super fun stuff. So making sure that audit went well. So thank you for that. And I don't think I have a whole
Don't
lot
forget
else. So.
Jason.
Oh,
Don't forget
Jason!
Jason.
I'm so terrible.
You're not
Oh,
terrible.
I've got nothing else to add. There's, everything that's gone on this meeting has gone beyond my pitiful abilities to add or detract from it. So, barring anything else, I'd be the one pushing for the motion to adjourn.
Well, we're glad you made the motion, Jason.
I'll second.
Second by Lauren. We'll do a roll call vote, and then we'll move on with our evening here. Rocky Busnitz?
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos?
Rosa, yes.
Eric Dieter?
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen?
There's not an executive session.
There's not an executive session. Zero. I know it's
Then
hard to
yes.
believe. It's hard to believe. I don't know how we're going to make it. I mean, how many hours?
Yes.
30 hours
Yes.
of executive sessions? Oh, man. Anyway, Lauren Tice Miller.
Lauren, yes.
Eric Price is yes. Jason Schulz.
Jason, aye.
All right. Motion